The list of rats that are jumping off the Trump train has been increasing since the election, which saw MAGA candidates get roundly defeated, while establishment Republican candidates actually did fairly well. Now, the newest rat could be Tommy Lauren. How do I know this? Well, we'll take a look and then I'll interpret.
The old party is dead. Time to bury it. Build something new. Tommy.
A lot of Republican voters are feeling that way, but then we have to consider a whole new mess that's probably coming our way if we have a Trump announcement this week. And we're going to talk about that later. But if we're thinking we're divided now between McConnell and Rick Scott and all the rest of it, wait until Donald Trump's name is back in the running officially. I know he's been hinting at it for a long time, but when it's officially there, not only will that impact Georgia, likely, it's going to be whether Democrats hate Donald Trump or Republicans love Donald Trump enough to push Georgia over the line. But there's going to be a lot of issues in the Republican Party that we have 2 years to sort out. We better start today.
Delicious. Now, look, from what I get from that, and maybe I'm projecting a bit here, but she seems to agree with Josh Hawley, who was, by the way, on January 6th, hauling ass. And we'll never let him forget that. We should never let him forget that. So look, anyway, I think that, from what she was saying, MAGA kind of done. And now there's a big fight going on here. Now, I don't agree that MAGA is done. Yes, I think that Donald Trump is at the weakest point that he's ever been at. But remember, what you have set up here is a civil war. You have the Republican establishment versus the base. That's going to be a hell of a fight. So I wouldn't count that out yet. Thing is, and I don't think any of them seem to realize it, is that hardcore MAGA chuds, I really don't think a lot of them showed up because of the whole voter fraud narrative. Honestly. I mean, the reason is obvious, of course. Donald Trump spent years talking about how Democrats are stealing the elections. Your vote's not going to count. So I think a lot of these people were like, why show up? Don't really care. So I would be very curious, though, and I don't have any hard data to back that up. But I'd like to know through polling or interviews just how many Republicans ended up staying home in this midterm cycle as a result of buying into that stolen election stuff. Versus, of course, the turnout, which was massively higher among younger Democrats who normally don't turn out, doing so as a result of, for example, Roe, student loan debt relief, which unfortunately has been blocked at this point, and just generally putting a stop to GOP fascists. I would really like to see the breakdown of that, especially with so many Republicans believing that Biden still had stolen the election in 2020. So, again, I'd love to have that breakdown. But the GOP civil war is definitely real. You don't need to really quantify it because you can see it all over the place. You have almost all the major pundits saying Donald Trump is the reason they lost, pointing their fingers at Trump, saying that Trump's like a cancer on the party, or it's just time to move on. It's move on for Trump, move on for Trump. Now, the irony here, of course, is that a lot of these same people, they made their careers off of Donald Trump. Candace Owens, for example, Tommy Lauren, come on. Even if a lot of them were big before Trump, and you could definitely argue Candace Owens had a very big presence before Donald Trump, they got even more, fame, notoriety, leaning into MAGA. And so, again, seeing those large names that leaned into MAGA and were rewarded turning from it is hilarious. And again, the reason Candace Owens is like, oh, Donald Trump was he was mean to me. No, it isn't about that. It's about you sensing some money in establishment politics. I think that's what this is about. I definitely think that's what's about when it comes to Tommy Lauren. That said, it is odd to see them do what a lot of the establishment is doing and decide with the establishment because you still have the voters that support Trump and love Donald Trump. Now, again, let me be clear. The entire Republican Party loves Trump's policies. So this isn't a policy difference in the Republican Party. What it really is actually is just more of fascism versus Republican normal policies. Because again, Trump tried to overthrow the government to install himself. And turns out not exactly popular with the majority of the country. So while they agree on policies, one's definitely fash. That's Trump and Trump's allies. And the Republican Party has been punished as a result of that. So, now, that said, a lot of the Republican Party now, the establishment especially, is looking at Ron DeSantis. And why is that? It's Ron DeSantis won easily in Florida. But that's actually not a surprise. It doesn't make Ron DeSantis strong. And I think a lot of people were saying, oh, look how strong Ron DeSantis is. I think they're missing important context here. Yes, Ron DeSantis crushed Charlie Crist by 20 points. Charlie Crist, one of the weakest Democrats that were in the race, that were in these midterms. The Florida Democratic Party, I gotta say, it's an absolute joke. Florida used to be a swing state, used to be a purple state. Now it's just completely red. So, look, for example, back in 2018, Andrew Gillum almost beat DeSantis. That was an incredibly close race. And now they're all talking about, oh, Ron DeSantis is so strong, so strong, so strong. No, not strong. But they're looking at Ron DeSantis and say, oh, yeah, Ron DeSantis, very strong, very strong. Donald Trump, loser. Sore loser. Well, that's true. Donald Trump is a loser and a definite sore loser. But still, if Trump and DeSantis run in 2024, and that's what this is all kind of boiling down to, right? Well, as Tommy points out, rather astutely, because she's not an idiot, she's a grifter, and so her analysis when it comes to being chaos, it's true. There is going to be massive chaos in the party. It's going to rip each other apart. There will be debates where Donald Trump is going to play extremely dirty against Ron DeSantis. And since it is a Republican primary, since you still have the MAGA voters that are still on Donald Trump's side, even though they like Ron DeSantis, it's going to be an absolute bloodbath. And that's how, by the way, Republican candidates, all these terrible candidates got into power, into these elections in the first place. Donald Trump didn't magically put them there. No, somebody voted for them. Somebody voted in primaries, and that's the Republican base that is still backing Donald Trump. The voters, Republican primary voters, chose the most insane people to run. Insane, unqualified, whatever you want to call them. They did not do well in a general election. Whereas, again, establishment Republican candidates did do well against Democratic candidates. So let's be honest about that. Only the Trumpiest people lost. Electability, that's an important thing. Republicans just figured out, oh, right, electability. It actually might matter. Yeah, no kidding. Again, establishment Republican like Brian Kemp won. In some way, and you can actually be glad that some sanity, a little bit of sanity, has returned to the Republican Party. Again, they're still absolutely horrible on their policy positions, and it's as bad as ever, right? And again, they agree with Donald Trump on 90% of issues, 99% of issues, but the one thing that they differ on is the fact that they don't want to openly overthrow the government and end our system of government, to end our democracy. Again, you had sanity versus fascism. And in this election, we got lucky because sanity won, but just by a little bit.